Before swords were sharpened, before armies marched, an unwritten law was carved into the souls of those who refused to break. Tested not on battlefields alone, but in silence and solitude, in the moments when reputation meant nothing and character meant everything. 8 ancient principles, 8 foundations that separated warriors destined for legend from those forgotten by history. Not tactics, not techniques. 8 internal forces that, once awakened, make you impossible to shatter. Integrity, bravery, mercy, reverence, truth, dignity, devotion, mastery. These weren't suggestions for feudal Japan's greatest fighters. They were requirements. The invisible architecture that determined whether a blade carrier became immortal or invisible. This is the account of Kaito, a gifted swordsman who held his ancestors' weapon but lacked his ancestors' essence, who commanded every advantage yet possessed nothing of substance, and the 8 ordeals that would either reconstruct him into something indestructible or erase him entirely. Because this code accepts no negotiation, no flexibility, no middle ground. You either become these principles or expose that you never grasped them at all. Chapter 1. The Victor with the Empty Heart. The other fighters in his late father's training hall murmured that he might achieve the legendary status his father once held. Shimada Takashi, the defender who perished protecting the fortress at Kawaguchi 9 years prior. But Kaito understood what they couldn't see. He was a shell. Each triumph felt meaningless. Each commendation sounded hollow. Each quiet moment revealed a howling emptiness where his father's integrity should have lived. That night following training, Kaito's mentor, Lord Shimada Akira, the current family leader, requested his presence. Young one, your abilities sharpen daily. Your father would beam with pride. Gratitude, mentor. However, there's something requiring disclosure. Tomorrow, a masterless samurai arrives. He was your father's sworn companion. He seeks permission to evaluate you. Evaluate me? I've conquered every fighter in this territory. What does that signify? Tomorrow reveals understanding, or it reveals absence. Regardless, your journey becomes clear. Chapter 2. The first foundation, integrity. The test commences. Sunrise. A silhouette awaited in the stone garden. Aged approximately 60 winters, weathered features, eyes like ancient wells, clothing worn yet meticulously preserved. You are Kaito. Affirmative. And you are. I am Renzo, your father's oath brother. I observed your training yesterday. 20 victories. Remarkable. Appreciated. Yet hollow. You defeat adversaries. You do not conquer yourself. That explains my presence. Renzo positioned a small leather pouch on the ground. Within this container sits sufficient currency to sustain comfortable existence for 3 years. It belongs to a trader who wronged your family. He exploited your mentor in a business arrangement, capitalized on your household's mourning after your father's passing. Your mentor desires retribution, but cannot proceed without compromising his standing. He requested I deliver this compensation to you. The currency is yours. The trader will remain ignorant. Balance restored. Family integrity preserved. Kaito reached toward the container. But Renzo continued. There exists another reality. The trader didn't deceive intentionally. He committed an honest miscalculation. He's a decent man supporting a large household. This currency represents his entire accumulated wealth, claiming it destroys him completely. Kaito's hand froze. Therefore, the dilemma becomes, what constitutes righteousness? Family integrity or individual fairness? Your mentor's expectations or the traitor's innocence. This represents the first trial, the first foundation, integrity. The fortitude to pursue righteousness regardless of convenience, regardless of personal sacrifice, regardless of external expectations. Kaido stared at the container. His mentor anticipated acceptance. His family's reputation demanded it. Refusal would appear as weakness, potentially betrayal. Your father encountered this identical choice previously, Renzo stated. A corrupt authority commanded him to eliminate an innocent peasant to preserve order. Your father refused. It eliminated favor, nearly eliminated his position. But he selected integrity over convenience. What represents your choice? Kaido's hand trembled. Every fiber wanted to satisfy his mentor, avoid confrontation, select the effortless path. But his father's voice resonated in memory. A warrior's power isn't in his blade. It's in his capacity to choose the difficult right over the comfortable wrong. Kaido pushed the container back toward Renzo. Return it to the traitor. And for my mentor, I uncovered the error. Family integrity isn't constructed on injustice. Renzo's expression remained unchanged, but something shifted in his gaze. The first foundation stirs. 708. Chapter 3. The second foundation, bravery, the test of terror. 3 days forward. Renzo guided Kaido to a precipice edge overlooking a ravine. Below, raging water smashed against stone hundreds of feet beneath. Your father mentioned you've never confronted genuine peril. Every contest you fought occurred in a protected training arena. Wooden weapons, regulations, oversight. I've trained for authentic combat. Training is an experience. This is the second foundation, bravery. Not terror's absence, but movement despite it. Renzo handed Kaido a rope. This rope is ancient. It might support your weight. It might not. Descend to that shelf. He indicated an outcropping 30 feet down. Retrieve the marked stone there and ascend back. What? Because your father completed this identical trial at your age. Because bravery cannot be rehearsed in safety. Because you require knowledge whether your training is genuine or performance. Kaido looked downward. His heart accelerated. His palms moistened. Every instinct screamed, "This is madness. This could end you. This isn't required. And if I decline, then you demonstrate you possess skill but lack bravery. You could defeat adversaries in controlled settings, but you cannot face the uncertain. That isn't this code. That's pretense." Kaido secured the rope around his torso. His hand shook. "Terror isn't your adversary," Renzo said. "Paralysis is. Terror tells you danger is authentic. Bravery tells you to advance anyway." Kaido stepped over the edge. The rope held barely. It groaned with each movement. The wind screamed. The stones below waited. 30 feet down, every muscle protested. Every breath was petition. He reached the shelf, grasped the marked stone, began ascending back. Halfway up, the rope frayed. He heard it snap a strand. Terror exploded. His body wanted to freeze, but Renzo's voice cut through. Bravery is advancing through terror, not waiting for it to dissolve. Kaido climbed faster, hands bleeding, arms burning, the rope fraying with each pull. He reached the summit, collapsed, trembling alive. Renzo knelt beside him. "Now you understand bravery isn't feeling confident. It's acting when your body screams to cease." The second foundation stirs. 608. Chapter 4. The third foundation, mercy, the test of power. Week 2. The village buzzed with rumors. A group of thieves had been captured stealing grain from a storehouse. The sentence was elimination. Public. Tomorrow at dawn. Renzo brought Kaido to the detention that evening. Observe them. 3 men, filthy, starving. One of them couldn't have exceeded 16 years. They stole sufficient grain to nourish their families for a month, Renzo said. The law is explicit. Theft means death. Justice demands elimination. So why are we here? Because the law is not always justice. This is the third foundation, mercy, the strength to see beyond regulations to human anguish. Your father once faced a similar situation. A samurai had dishonored himself in battle. The code demanded ritual suicide, but your father investigated, discovered the man had been forced to retreat to rescue wounded soldiers. Not cowardice, compassion. Your father advocated for leniency. It was unpopular. Other fighters called him weak, but he understood. True power protects. It doesn't merely punish. Kaido looked at the youngest thief, barely more than a child, eyes filled with terror. What can I do? The law is not mine to alter, but your voice carries influence. Your mentor respects you. You could speak for leniency. Argue for exile instead of elimination. It risks your reputation. Other warriors will perceive it as weakness. But is following unjust law strength, or is challenging it courage? Kaido spent that night awake, wrestling with the choice. At dawn, as the eliminations were to commence, Kaido stepped forward before the assembled villagers. Lord Shimada, mentor, I request permission to speak. The crowd murmured. His mentor frowned. Speak. These men violated the law, but the law did not consider the drought, the failed harvest, the reality that children were starving. I do not excuse theft, but I ask, is death justice or is it vengeance? I propose exile. Let them depart our territory. Let them survive. Let leniency show we are strong enough to bend without shattering. Silence. The other warriors looked at him with contempt. Weakness, softness, dishonor. His mentor stood for an extended moment, said nothing. Then, the young one speaks wisdom beyond his years. Exile is granted. As the thieves were led away alive, the youngest one looked back at Kaido, bowed deeply. No words, just gratitude. Renzo appeared beside Kaido. Mercy is not weakness. It is strength secure enough to show compassion. The third foundation stirs. 508. Chapter 5. Foundations 4 through 6. The trial of character. The fourth foundation, reverence. Month 2. Renzo brought a peasant to the training hall. Old, weathered, smelling of earth and labor. This man wishes to learn one sword technique. Will you teach him? The other warriors laughed. A peasant learning the sword? Absurd. Disrespectful to their entire station. But Kaido remembered his father's words. Reverence is not granted by position. It is earned by existence. Every person deserves dignity. Kaido bowed to the peasant as low as he would bow to a lord. I will teach you, the warriors whispered. He shows reverence to a peasant? Has he lost his mind? But Kaido taught the old man a simple defensive technique. Patiently, respectfully, with the same care he would show a noble. When the lesson ended, the peasant bowed deeply. You have your father's spirit, young lord. Renzo, reverence, treating all beings with dignity while maintaining your own integrity. Not because they deserve it by rank, but because your character demands it. The fourth foundation stirs. The fifth foundation, truth. Week 9. Lord Shimada asked Kaido about the clan's military preparedness. The reality? They were unprepared. Training had become lax. Equipment aged. Strategy outdated. But stating this would shame his mentor, would suggest poor leadership, would damage relationships. Renzo watched, waiting. Kaido took a breath. Mentor, I must speak truth even if it displeases you. Our preparedness is inadequate. We have become complacent in peace. If conflict came tomorrow, we would struggle. The room fell silent. His mentor's face darkened, then softened. You have your father's courage to speak uncomfortable truth. Better to hear it now than discover it in battle. We will address this. Renzo later. Truth, speaking honesty even when falsehoods would serve you better. Your reputation could have been protected by pleasant deception, but this code demands truth regardless of cost. The fifth foundation stirs. The sixth foundation, dignity. Month 4. A rival warrior publicly insulted Kaido, called him the peasant's companion and gentle warrior. Everyone expected Kaido to challenge him to a contest to restore dignity through combat. But Kaido had learned true dignity cannot be given or taken by others' words. He looked at the rival, bowed slightly. Your words reveal your character, not mine. I have no need to respond. The rival was furious. You refuse my challenge? Coward. No. I simply refuse to let your opinion of me determine my actions. My dignity is defined by my code, not your words. He walked away. The crowd whispered. Some called it cowardice, others wisdom. Renzo, dignity, living by an internal code that cannot be shaken by external opinion. True dignity is not defended in contests. It is maintained in daily choices. The sixth foundation stirs. 208. Chapter 6. The seventh foundation, devotion, the ultimate trial. Month 6. Crisis struck. Lord Shimada was accused of treason by the ruling authority. False charges, political maneuvering by rivals. But the accusation meant death for the entire clan, if not answered properly. Every warrior in the clan faced a choice. Remain devoted and risk elimination, or abandon the clan and survive. Over 3 days, 17 warriors quietly left, claiming family obligations or health concerns. Cowards fleeing under the cover of excuses. Kaido watched them go. Renzo watched Kaido. Your mentor will likely be eliminated. The clan will fall. You could leave now. No one would blame a 19-year-old for choosing survival over doomed devotion. Will you leave? No. Why? I swore an oath to your father. I remain until death releases me from that oath. Then I remain also, even though it may cost your life. Especially because it may cost my life. That is when devotion matters most, when it costs everything. Renzo's eyes showed something rare, pride. This is devotion, not allegiance to winning sides, but steadfastness to your word regardless of consequence. Your father died at Kawaguchi, maintaining his devotion when he could have fled. You carry his spirit. His voice deepened, transcending the moment. Throughout history, this moment tests warriors. When the cost of principle becomes death itself, when devotion demands sacrifice, when remaining standing means losing everything. At Presence and Purpose, we teach what happens here in this exact crucible. Not in comfort, in fire. When holding your code means losing your life. For those facing impossible choices where principle and survival conflict, walk this path with us. Because the warrior way doesn't promise you'll survive. It promises you'll remain standing until the end. Join us. subscribe to this ancient path, because in this moment, you discover what you truly are. The words settled like snow on stone. The charges were eventually proven false. Lord Shimada exonerated. The clan survived, but those who fled, their names were erased from history, while Kaido and the 5 warriors who remained, their devotion was remembered for generations. The 7th foundation is complete. One remains, the hardest of all. Chapter 7, the 8th foundation, Mastery, the final trial. Month 7, everything converged. The rival warrior who had insulted Kaido returned. This time he didn't just insult. He attacked, challenged Kaido to a formal contest, to the death. Kaido had every right to accept. His skill was superior. Victory was certain. His dignity would be restored in the eyes of those who doubted him. But Renzo posed one question. What does accepting prove? That I'm not a coward. To whom? People who don't matter. Or to yourself, who knows the truth. You spent 7 months learning 7 foundations. Now the 8th, the final foundation tests whether you've truly integrated them or merely performed them. Mastery, dominion over the only adversary that truly matters, yourself. Your ego, your need for validation, your desire to prove yourself to people whose opinions carry no weight. Your rival wants you to fight because he knows he can make you react. He cannot control his own ego, so he seeks to control yours. If you accept his challenge, he wins, because he proves you're still a slave to others' provocations. But if you refuse, not from terror, but from mastery, you demonstrate the highest form of strength, the strength to not need to demonstrate strength. Kaido faced his rival before the assembled training hall. I decline your challenge. Coward, no. I simply refuse to be controlled by your need for validation. You want to fight because you need to prove something. I have nothing to prove. My code is complete with or without your approval. 7 foundations have awakened in me. Integrity, bravery, mercy, reverence, truth, dignity, devotion. And now the 8th and final, mastery. I control myself. Therefore, I control everything that matters. He turned and walked away. The rivals screamed insults. The crowd whispered, but Kaido felt something profound, complete freedom from others' opinions. Renzo stood beside him. Your father's training is complete. The 8 foundations live in you now, not as concepts, as bone, as breath, as unshakable foundation. The 8th foundation stirs. Chapter 8, 6 months forward, the code lives. Spring 1608. Kaido, now 20 summers, had transformed. Not in appearance, not in skill, but in presence. He moved differently, spoke differently, existed differently. The 8 foundations were no longer things he practiced. They were things he was. When faced with corruption, integrity activated automatically. Do what is right. When confronting peril, bravery responded without hesitation. Move through terror. When witnessing anguish, mercy guided his actions. Power protects. When meeting anyone, reverence shaped his behavior. All deserved dignity. When questioned, truth controlled his tongue. Speak only honesty. When insulted, dignity remained unshaken. Principle is internal. When others fled, devotion kept him standing. Steadfastness unto death. When provoked, mastery prevented reaction. Govern yourself first. This was the code, not rules memorized, identity forged. Chapter 9. The student becomes guide. 1 year after training began, a young warrior, maybe 17 summers, approached Kaido in the training arena. I heard you train with Renzo, that he taught you the code. He guided me. I learned by walking the path. Can you teach me?" Kaido looked at the boy, saw himself a year ago, skilled but empty, perfect in form but hollow in spirit. The code cannot be taught, only discovered through 8 trials, 8 tests, 8 moments where everything you think you're gets stripped away until only truth remains. I am willing. Good. Tomorrow we begin with the hardest foundation of all, which is integrity. The courage to do what is right when everything in you wants to do what is easy. As Kaido spoke, he realized these weren't his words anymore, or Renzo's, or even his father's. They were the code itself, timeless, speaking through anyone committed to embodying it. The student becomes the guide. The code passes forward. The foundations never die. They simply wait for the next warrior willing to forge them into soul. Chapter 10, Renzo's Final Teaching. That evening, Renzo found Kaido by the stream. "Tomorrow I depart." "Why?" "Because my oath to your father is fulfilled. You have become what he hoped, a warrior not of technique, but of character. But there's still so much I don't understand. There will always be more. That's not the point. You now carry this code as foundation. Whatever comes, you'll face it with these 8 foundations guiding you. The code is not complicated, but it is difficult because it demands you become someone most men never attempt to be." Renzo's voice took on that timeless quality, transcending the moment. These 8 foundations, this code, has forged warriors for centuries. Not just in Japan, but anywhere individuals choose principle over convenience. At Presence and Purpose, we preserve this code not as museum artifact, as living practice. The same foundations that shaped samurai can shape modern individuals. Integrity, bravery, mercy, reverence, truth, dignity, devotion, mastery, 8 simple foundations. But when embodied completely, they create someone the world cannot break. For those who hear this call, who feel the pull towards something harder, truer, more real than modern comfort, walk this path with us. Every week, the ancient code, not as history, as training, because the world needs warriors, and warriors need this code. Subscribe. Join this lineage. Walk with us. Welcome to the way. Let's train together. Kaido bowed deeply. Where will you go? To find the next one who needs teaching. The next skilled warrior with an empty spirit. Like you a year ago. Renzo smiled. Your father would be proud. Not because you mastered technique, but because you mastered yourself. He walked into the mist and was gone. Kaido stood alone, but not truly alone, because 8 foundations lived in him. A code older than steel, stronger than death. The way that never ends. The 8 foundations eternal. 10 years forward, 1618. Kaido, now 29, had become known throughout the territories. Not for victories in battle, not for political power, not for wealth or status, but for being unbreakable. When faced with corruption, he chose integrity. When confronted with peril, he moved with bravery. When witnessing anguish, he acted with mercy. When meeting anyone, he showed reverence. When questioned, he spoke with truth. When insulted, his dignity remained immovable. When others fled, his devotion never wavered. When provoked, his mastery was absolute. This was the code embodied. Young warriors came from distant territories to train with him. He taught them not technique, but character, not forms, but foundations. The code is simple, he would tell them. 8 foundations, 8 pillars, 8 structures that once forged into your soul cannot be shaken by any storm. Your skill with the sword matters less than your skill with yourself. Master these 8 foundations, and you master everything that truly matters. One evening alone in meditation, Kaido reflected on his journey. From the hollow warrior with 20 empty victories to the complete man whose defeats and victories alike were lived with integrity. The transformation wasn't dramatic. It was daily, in each small choice, each moment of choosing foundation over convenience. The 8 foundations asterisk. Integrity, do what is right. Bravery, act despite terror. Mercy, power protects. Reverence, all deserve dignity. Truth, speak only honesty. Dignity, internal code unshaken. Devotion, steadfast unto death. Mastery, govern yourself first. These are not habits. These are not rules. These are identities. When you embody them completely, you become something the world cannot break. Because your foundation is not built on circumstances. It is built on character. And character forged in the fire of daily choice is the only thing that remains when everything else burns away. Kaido stood, faced the setting sun, drew his father's sword, now his own, one perfect cut, not to strike an adversary, but to honor the code. This code lives not in the blade, but in the hand that wields it, not in victory, but in the individual who chooses foundation regardless of outcome. This is the way. This was always the way. This will forever be the way. The sun set. Darkness came, but the 8 foundations remained, shining like stars, guiding every warrior who chose principle over comfort, foundation over convenience, character over chaos. This is the code. This is what makes individuals into legends. And legends never die. If you felt something shift inside you watching this, if you recognized that pull towards something harder, truer, more real, that's the call. Don't let it fade. Hit that like button right now and let me know this resonated. Subscribe to Presence and Purpose because every week we walk this path together. Ancient wisdom, modern application, real transformation. Welcome to the way. Let's train together.